Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of HaugoMATH video. In this episode, it is upon us to save the town of Hawkins, and the entire world for that matter. The Upside Down is its strongest ever and is spilling over into our world. I don't know if it's been stranger to say, but I think the things that will help us save the world will involve circles. Area and circumference of circles to be exact. Let's get to work before it's too late. What once was a great small town community has now become a nightmarish environment. The fiery terror from underneath is arising and the Upside Down is multiplying by the minute. The usual cast of heroes have been captured and are rendered powerless, so we are the last hope for Hawkins. The electromagnetic waves of energy are a dead giveaway on who we're dealing with. The pi symbol left here is his calling card and his source of power. We are clearly dealing with the infinite Pi-Ranha. The only way to defeat him is to confront him and cut off his power source. And I think I know where we can find him. We need to go to the origin of the Upside Down where all this terror began. It's the only way. That's right, the Hawkins Lab. It's always been known for its oddities and mysteries, and I'm getting the sense that the infinite Pi-Ranha will be found inside, near the portal to the Upside Down. The front of the lab is too well secured to get into, so we'll need to find another entry point. Maybe the backside will be the way. Yep, this looks better. And sure enough, it seems that the infinite Pi-Ranha is nearby. Well, I'm not quite sure what we're getting ourselves into, but it's now or never. Hawkins and the rest of the world is counting on us. Let's go in. Yikes, there he is. He's the sole driver of everything in the Upside Down, and he must be stopped, defeated forever. We have to watch out for his powers, which are derived from those pi symbols. If you didn't know, pi is a special number related to circles that is approximately 3.14. But really, the digits of pi are much more than 3.14. And just like the infinite Pi-Ranha's powers, those pi digits, too, are infinite in nature. They go on forever. See, I knew he'd be in here, probably trying to summon up all of his forces to destroy Hawkins once and for all. Which must mean that the portal to the Upside Down has to be close by. We need to find that portal now, seal it up for good, and render the infinite Pi-Ranha powerless forever. And here it is. I'm not surprised that the gateway to the Upside Down is a perfect circle. I think I have a plan on how we can close this down and save Hawkins and the world from any mayhem that the infinite Pi-Ranha has concocted. It's going to require covering and welding shut the portal with some special materials, and it's going to require some knowledge on the area and circumference of circles. Once we unlock the secret of the pi number, we'll take away the power of the infinite Pi-Ranha and lock out all the evils of the Upside Down forever. Let's start with how the pi number relates to the circumference. So the pi number of approximately 3.14 has a direct relationship with the diameter and its circumference. The diameter is the distance across the circle, and the circumference is the distance around the circle. If you take the diameter of any circle, it will take a little more than 3 of these diameters to make the circumference. We can see that here as the circle unwinds to reveal that circumference as a straight line. And it doesn't matter if it's big or small or something in between, every circle has this special relationship with its diameter and circumference. a little more than 3. And that little more than 3 number, about 3.14, is the pi number. It takes pi diameters to make the circumference. And here is another way of showing that it takes pi of the diameters to make the circumference. As we see copies of the diameter bending around the circle, you can see the pi relationship showing itself. This leads to a usable formula for calculating any circle's circumference when the diameter is known. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Let's see how that works with this example. When the diameter is 6 units, we can first get a real quick estimate of the circumference by taking 3 of these diameters, or 3 times 6, which is 18 units. Knowing that it takes a little more than 3 diameters to make the circumference, we should expect the circumference to be a little more than 18 units then. To be more precise, we would use the formula and do pi times the diameter of 6. Most calculations with the use of pi use about 3.14 for its representation, as there is no way to fully use all the infinite digits of pi, as this is a number that goes on forever with no end and no repetition. So doing about 3.14 times 6 will get us a more precise measurement of the circumference. Here we get about 18.84, which aligns with what we thought, a little more than 18 units. But if we want to give the exact answer, we would use the pi symbol and say that the circumference is 6 pi units. This then allows any user to determine how many digits of pi to use, if a numerical answer is needed, to fit their needs of precision. The pi number of about 3.14 also relates to a circle's area. Let's see here how that works. The measurement needed this time is the radius, which is halfway across the circle. Using the same circle where the diameter is 6, we get a radius of 3. To calculate the area, we turn the radius into a radius square. The 3 by 3 square has an area of 9 square units. And if we completely overlap the circle with these radius squares, we can see that 4 of them completely cover the circle. There is excess from these squares, however, that do not fit inside the circle, as we see here at the corners. So 4 radius squares is too much. But as we see here in a different circle example, 3 radius squares is not quite enough to make the circle's area. How many radius squares are needed exactly to make the area of the circle? Well, between 3 and 4. And what number is between 3 and 4? You guessed it, 3.14 or pi. It takes pi, or about 3.14 of these radius squares to make the area of a circle. This leads to the formula of area equals pi r squared. The exponent of 2 is the mathematical way of saying use the radius number 2 times in multiplying. So for our example, a radius of 3 makes a 3 by 3 radius square with an area of 9 square units. Again, it takes about 3 of these radius squares to make the area, so 3 times 9, which equals 27 square units, would be a good quick estimate. Making this more precise, we'd use the formula area equals pi r squared. So about 3.14 times 3 squared. 3 squared means multiply using 3 2 times. So 3 times 3, which equals 9. And then 9 times the pi number of about 3.14 gives us a more precise answer of 28.26 square units. But just like before, if we want to give the exact answer, we would just say that the area is 9 pi square units, and again, leave it to any user to determine how many digits of pi to use in this last step of multiplication, depending on how many decimal digits of pi they need and how precise their answer is needed to be. Whoa, I guess he doesn't like me knowing this information. So let's get back to saving the world here. We're going to cover this portal to the upside down with a nano diamond coated graphene material, which comes with a money back guarantee. The portal to the upside down has a diameter of 8 feet, which makes for a radius of 4 feet. We need to figure out how big of a circle to make out of this material. Well, now we can figure this out. We'll use our formula of area equals pi r squared and plug in the radius of 4. The radius squared, or 4 times 4, equals 16. So 16 times the pi number, or 16 pi square feet, is what is needed. Let's use the pi number of about 3.14 to get a numerical answer here so I can make this circular cut. 16 times 3.14 makes for an area of 50.24 square feet to cover the portal. And then we'll need to weld this on. Luckily, I was able to obtain some plasma from the core of the sun, which is now hardened. When we reliquefy this in the welding process, it will make a permanent bond that is unbreakable. Let's figure out how much is going to be needed to weld the perimeter of the circle, which is the circumference. So let's use the circumference formula with a diameter of 8 feet. Plug in 8 for the diameter number, so it would be 8 pi feet to weld around. But again, let's use about 3.14 for the pi number to get a numerical answer. 8 times 3.14 gives us a circumference of 25.12 feet to weld around. Okay, a perfect fit, the exact size we needed. And now let's cut off the infinite Pi-Ranha's power for good and weld this thing shut forever. We did it! And that should sever the energy source for the infinite Pi-Ranha, rendering him powerless forever. Thank goodness we were successful. Now Hawkins can get back to normal and never have to worry about that upside down ever again, or the evil infinite Pi-Ranha. Well, see you next time, everybody.